Hello and welcome to another cooking demo with me. My name is Michelle Nash. I'm the dietitian at the Berkshire Medical Center Cancer Center, and today I'm going to present to you the other half of my sweet and salty treats featuring legumes. So these are the two recipes that feature black beans and chickpeas in their savory form, and they're really easy to pull together. So if you have that can of black beans left over because they weren't good for those black bean brownies, which you saw me make in the sweet video, we're going to use them right here. So for the black beans, we're going to make just a little black bean salsa that goes with our blue corn chips here. Now, what I love about using the corn chips with the whole corn kernel in them is that a whole grain and a legume make a complete protein. So this is a really great nutritious snack to have. So what we have is, we have our black beans, doesn't matter what kind, and we're going to add these to our dish. We're also going to use corn. This is just some kernel corn that you get in the frozen section, and it's been thawed. So we're gonna add that. I have some sweet red pepper here. You could definitely add some hot pepper if you wanted to make it a little spicy. I want to make this one nice and mild, so we're just going to go with a plain sweet bell pepper. I'm gonna add about half of my shallots here. I really like using shallots instead of a regular white or red or yellow onion if we're going to be eating them raw, because I always find that the flavor is more mild than sort of your traditional red onion or white onion. And also the layers are thinner, so it's easier to get a finer chop on it, which I also really like. So here's our colorful little salsa going on. And of course you could add some hot peppers if you want. I'm going to add some smoked paprika. Now I love smoked paprika as a spice because it brings that smoky flavor that you might be looking for in something that's a little Southwest like this is, but it's not really overpowering. It also brings a little bit of a warmth. I wouldn't say even a heat of spice, but it definitely is a little bit warm, and it just adds that, it's just a really nice smokiness, which I think plays really well with like the mealy beans and the sweeter corn and the crisp peppers and everything. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that here. And then a dash of some olive oil, my big jug here, and we're gonna toss it through. So you really only need a tiny bit. And then I am gonna add a little bit of vinegar. I like using a tiny bit of olive oil and a tiny bit of vinegar in a salsa like this because those elements just end up marinating a little bit and sort of binding all the flavors together. So you don't need much because again, we don't want it to be soupy or you know, too overly dressed, right? Because it's for a hot day. So we're just getting it a little bit wet so that the vinegar and the olive oil can help carry and marry all these flavors together and make it into a really nice, really nice salsa. So again, super simple, and definitely a great thing to do with your leftover beans, and just a really nice addition to have if you're doing a picnic or anything, or a little party. So there is our first dish with the black beans, and we're gonna move on to our dish with the chickpeas. So with this, because chickpeas are fairly large, they don't scoop up on a chip very nicely. And what we're using for our chip is a tortilla chip. So I'm sort of doing a play on a hummus and tortilla chip. This is a whole grain tortilla with some flax seeds in it. So again, you're going to get that complete protein with the whole grain and the legume. So that's a really great thing to incorporate into your sort of snack dishes to really get that protein there. So instead of doing a completely smooth puree hummus, we're sort of going to be doing it just a little bit chopped up. So I'm gonna use the food processor again for this, just because that's a lot easier. I'm gonna add my chickpeas. I have some tomatoes that I've chopped, which I'm going to add in, and I'm actually adding some cucumber too. So I'm really playing on that sort of like Greek, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean style flavors with our tomatoes and our cucumbers and the chickpeas. And we're just gonna pulse this through on the with the blender, and I'm also gonna add the remainder of our shallots here. So we're just gonna let it sort of pulse through pretty gently. I don't want it to be a mush, so I'm gonna be making some noise again, but I'm going to sort of just be stopping it a bunch of times to make sure I'm getting the texture right. I am gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper. Forgot to add salt and pepper to that, so I'll add some later and toss it through. Just to sort of bring out the flavors. Again, you know, it just helps elevate everything and bring the dish together. So again, I'm gonna make a little bit of noise. If you have your headphones in or the volume turned up, just so you know, I'm gonna make some noise. You can turn it down a little bit. All right, so I wanna show you what I have here, because actually, that's all it took. That is really what I'm going for. So I'm really going for sort of that like rough chop, but it'll still be scoopable on a nice tortilla chip. And now I want to be able to toss through some olive oil and vinegar again. Some of these chickpeas are still almost whole, and that's fine. You kind of want that difference in texture. You want it to be interesting. And if you're serving these dishes side by side, there's going to be sort of the same theme, but not exactly the same, which is really nice to have that contrast. So I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. And a little bit of vinegar. I'm using a white vinegar. This is a white balsamic vinegar. I really like it when I'm using it like with dishes like this that you're sort of going to be eating fresh. A white balsamic has a little bit of sweetness to it along with that sourness. So when you're using vegetables like peppers or tomatoes, it really brings out kind of that natural sweetness that is in those vegetables, and it isn't just a really strong sour note. You could definitely use fresh lemon if you wanted to. I think that would also be really great. I just didn't have any today, so we're just going with the white balsamic vinegar. And this is some Italian seasoning. So again, going with that Mediterranean theme, for this dish, I'm just doing a little bit of Italian seasoning. So this is sort of what I'm calling like a deconstructed hummus, which deconstructed is just a fancy chef term for either A, it didn't finish it, or B, you have to put it together yourself, or C, it's not quite sort of as you normally find it, it's more in like pieces. So this is just sort of my play on that. But that's it. Again, really, really easy, and another nice tip to have at a potluck or a picnic or whatever other socially distancing eating activities you're doing these days. And yeah, so that is our second dish, and I think that's it. So thank you so much for watching. As always, you can find the recipes below and they'll also be sent out with the video. And you can definitely leave me some feedback, reach out to the contact information provided below and let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas of what you'd like to see me do. And thank you and stay safe.